very efficient. We have flat lots, walkout lots, daylight lots, you name it for Stewart's. So if you work in Lincoln and you'd like to commute, it's an easy 20-minute drive. How can you go wrong there? It's just a great American city to live in.
Make your dream home a reality and call Aspen Builders at 423-6811. Online at aspenbuildersinc.com. Your home is waiting at Aspen Builders.
Hey, it's Sean Callahan, and football season is here, and there is one place that has all the games, plus great food and beer specials. Tanner's Bar and Grill at 30th and Yankee Hill. Whether it's Thursday night football, college football Saturdays, NFL Sundays, or Monday night football, there's a great view of the game from any seat with different food and drink specials every night. Try the Blue Ribbon Reuben Sandwich or the Prime Rib French Dip or any of their famous chicken wings. That's Tanner's Bar and Grill at 30th and Yankee Hill.
Sunday morning. It's quiet, not in a weird, too quiet way. Calm, peaceful, tranquil. You pour yourself that cup of coffee. You slice yourself a hearty chunk of one of Beatrice Bakery's breakfast breads. Now, maybe you're an apple streusel guy. Nothing wrong with that. I can respect that. Personally, I'm a turtle nut man. Something about those pecans. But the real ones know, don't sleep on that date nut bread. Sweet, but not too sweet. Nutty, not overly. The perfect morning treat. Beatrice Bakery. Online at beatricebakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum.
Gray Diesel and Equipment Services is hiring and seeking motivated applicants. Gray offers a second-to-none benefit package that includes health, dental, vision, 401k, paid vacation, and paid holidays. They offer great pay and tuition reimbursement or a tool purchase program for qualified candidates. It's a fun, friendly team with lots of variety and work assignments, so there's something for everybody. View and apply for their job openings today at grayusa.com or visit them in person just off I-80 and North 56th Street. Come be a part of the Gray difference.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
Hi, I'm Steve Carper for O Street Carpet. For Christmas, we're doing everything possible to help you spruce up your home without making a dent in your holiday budget. If you need new wood flooring, new carpet, ceramic tile, vinyl, area rugs, or custom blinds, you want to shop at O Street Carpet. We offer 12 months same-as-cash financing, Lincoln's best selection in stock, free in-home measuring, and we'll install it right away. 1732 O Street. We want to make you a customer for life.
This is Adam Carriker on the ticket.
Position right of the quarterback, out of the shotgun, first and 20. Jailbreak screen in the air. It is tipped. It is intercepted by Carriker at the Missouri 21-yard line.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, 8-year NFL vet and All-American defensive lineman Adam Carriker.
Shotgun snap to Everett. He's got the left arm going, and now he's got a whole lot of Adam Carriker who rips him down inside the 25-yard line.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here's your host, Adam Carriker.
On the ticket. Oh, man, we got a lot to talk about. We always have a lot to talk about. It's part of the reason I love doing this show. It's part of the reason I love sports. I love Husker sports. And, of course, I love the great state of Nebraska. All right, on the docket, got a lot of things. Start right off the top. Nebraska volleyball, what a great season. Yes, I know yesterday wasn't the way anybody wanted it to end, obviously. But Texas, they seem to be a pretty good team, as disgusting as that is for me to say. Congratulations to them. God, that was hard to say. They got a great team. You look at what they did to Wisconsin. I couldn't believe what they did to Wisconsin. Okay, and then they come out and they play a great Nebraska team, all right, a young Nebraska team. And a team that I actually did an interview this morning with Trev Alberts. Check that out, CarrikerChronicles.com, Carriker Chronicles YouTube page. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so yet. Also, check out all things 93.7 The Ticket and GE Landscape Supply. Check them out at gelandscapesupply.com. But Trev had a great point this morning when I asked him about the volleyball season. He likened it to the 1993 Nebraska football season and how close they were and how that really fueled the players that played in 94 and then again in 95. Unfinished business was their off-season motto going into that 1994 season. And Trev kind of likened it potentially being like that for this volleyball team, how they're going to come back hungry, on fire, and probably be better off, obviously prefer to win a national title, but be better off maybe in the long term with all these young players that are going to be uber extra motivated going into next year and the year after. So many freshmen on this team. So yeah, yesterday wasn't great. Obviously, Texas, what a way to end their year. All right. But congratulations to John Cook, the ladies, the volleyball team. 33-2, Big Ten champs, played in the national championship match. Nothing to be ashamed of, but everything to be proud of. So shout out to the ladies on that. And just real quick, Trev, we talked about a lot of things. If you're interested in that interview, again, you can check it out on YouTube, CarrikerChronicles.com, my YouTube page. We talked about recruiting quarterbacks. We talked about transfer portal players. We talked about the type of quarterbacks, he'd prefer to see in Nebraska's offense. What type of offense would he like to see? How does he define success for Matt Rule in year 2, going into year 2 under Matt Rule and his staff? We talked about conference realignment. I love talking to Trev because he's very well spoken. He's clearly an intelligent guy. He handles himself with such class. But one of my favorite things is he gives you the answer within the answer if you pay attention. And basically, he didn't come right out and say it. What he said is, I'm not going to predict against conference realignment continuing to happen, and you better be aggressive in conferences who haven't been aggressive, haven't fared so well. So what do you think that means? So it was all sorts of great conversation today. We talked about even more things. So go check that out if you get a chance. All right, Nebraska basketball to talk about, and the ladies. First of all, ladies basketball here at the University of Nebraska is off to a 9-2 start. So they are off to one of their fastest starts they've had in recent memory. They're having a great season so far. Okay. Actually, I'm going to do a little. I can't find it. I'm not very tech savvy. That's okay. I was going to try to look up their schedule, but if I do that, I'm going to hit the wrong button and I'm going to disconnect the link. And it's Jake helping me out today, but I've done that to Puerto Rico in the past, and well, I'd rather not do that. So here's what I know, because I have watched a couple of their games and they're looking good. They're playing solid. They're playing fast. They're disciplined. As always, a couple of things to work on, but they're off to a great 9-2 start so far this season. You look at Nebraska basketball, okay, and yeah, they had the rough loss to Creighton, and it was interesting because Hoiberg, he kind of challenged his team after that. And one of the things that I know Trev stresses to all the coaches is building a toughness within the culture of their team, and that's not just football, that's basketball. And after that tough loss to Creighton, he challenged the team, basically in an appropriate way, but basically said, hey, are you tired of getting pushed around yet? And they seem to have responded well to that, okay? So Nebraska basketball, the men's side, okay, is off to one of their fastest starts in recent memory. All right, it was funny because they beat Kansas State and Michigan State, okay, in a 7-day span, which is pretty good. And they beat Kansas State 62-46. It was funny because a couple of people I talked to, they're like, an absolutely shocking result was one text that I got from somebody. All right. And I was like, I don't know about absolutely shocking. Clearly the team has made strides and improvement and is getting better. The word's absolutely shocking. Like, you could have just said shocking or absolutely surprising. It was the combo of absolutely shocking. I'm looking at the text right now. It just made me laugh. But really what they did, especially in the second half, if you watch that Kansas State game, they were pretty much dominant and they pretty much bullied around the Wildcats. And so that's kind of where that toughness mentality comes in, and it carries over into everything. All right. When I was in high school, all right, I was pretty good at baseball, and there was an individual who came and talked to our baseball team. And he was relaying the story of a kid that he had coached that went on to play Major League Baseball. But when that kid was younger, about 12, he was the kid that was the shortstop. He was the best pitcher. He was the best hitter. But there was about a 3-game stretch out of 4 games. Close games, down to the last inning, down to the last batter, and they always happen to be on defense. And in all 3 of those games, the ball was hit to this kid. Now, twice he was at shortstop, and once he was at second. And he made an error on all 3 plays. Now he's a kid. These things happen. But this kid maybe made 3 errors all year, and it was probably those 3 errors. So the coach pulled him aside, and the coach is telling us this story. And he asked the kid, he goes, "What are you thinking about in the bottom of that inning when the game is on the line? And the batter's in the batter's box. What are you thinking?" And the kid's like, "Please don't hit the ball to me. Please don't hit the ball to me. Please don't hit the ball to me." And that's why he was making those errors. And so the coach said, "Oh, okay. Well, you know you're a great player, right?" And the kid kind of shakes his head a little bit. "You're a great defensive player, great pitcher, great hitter." He said, "Do one little thing, and you will become a clutch player." And the kid said, "What's that?" And the coach told him, he said, "Simply change your mindset and your thoughts to this. Please hit the ball to me. Please hit the ball to me. I want the ball hit to me. I want the ball hit to me." A month goes by. Championship game. True story here. Kid's at shortstop. Bottom of the last inning. Bases loaded. 2 outs. I take that back. It was second and third because he had to get the force out at third. It wasn't like he could feel the ball and just underhand it to the second baseman. Red hot grounder hit to the shortstop. Fields it cleanly. Throws him out at first. His team wins the championship. The kid goes on to play college baseball, Major League Baseball. My point is this: a mindset of toughness obviously is helpful in football. A mindset of toughness is helpful in basketball. Michael Jordan used to get pushed around by the bad boy Pistons. They had the Jordan rules, and basically it was beat him up. It was bang him, it was foul him, it was knock him to the ground. And they won two NBA Finals championships with that mentality. Not the most loved team ever. They didn't care. Isaiah Thomas, Dennis Rodman, Bill Laimbeer, the like. But they bullied Jordan. And as a result, Jordan decided his response was to get in the weight room and put on some muscle. And then he became one of the biggest mental monsters anybody's ever seen in any sport ever, in anything ever. And he basically became an assassin. Wasn't always the most enjoyable teammate if you listen to some of his teammates, but man, the guy wanted to win, and he wanted his teammates to win. And that mental toughness carried him in basketball. It's obviously benefited Hoiberg's boys in basketball. It obviously helps in football. It helps in baseball. Having that mental mindset, that toughness of I want the ball hit to me, it makes a big difference. So shout out to the ladies basketball team. Shout out to the men's basketball team. They're both off to their fastest starts they've had in quite a while. All right. Now, talk a little bit of football here. So we got a few things to get to. And then I want to do something. I want to do a couple of things. I want to do what if. Oh, and I should mention, Jake's going to be joining me at 12:30. So tune in for that interview. He's going to be dropping that knowledge. We got the People's segment. All right, coming up the last 10 minutes of this show, as always. Send your questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, otherwise. All right. It's a Monday. Hope you're having a great Monday. You can call or text to 402-464-5685. Again, check out gelandscapesupply.com and all things 93.7 The Ticket, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and the like. But I want to have a little bit of fun. It's the last year, the 4-team college football playoff. So I want to pretend like it's the first year, the 12-team college football playoff. And then, because I just love doing this stuff so much, I did, what if it was an 8-team college football playoff? What if it was a 6-team college football playoff? What would some of these matchups look like? What would it be like? Okay. Now we're going to spend the majority of the time on the 12-team college football playoff because that's what we're having next year. But I want to do that as well. But I want to spend a couple of minutes. All right. Dylan Raiola Watt continues. All right. So Dylan had his recruiting visit this past weekend, was spotted at all sorts of Husker sports events. Picture was taken with him and Malachi Coleman. Picture was taken with him and his uncle Donovan. Okay, no commitment yet, no word yet. What does that mean? Is it time to hit the big red panic button? No. A lot of people are like 100% convinced that he's coming. I hear the things that they are hearing. Probably not exactly the same, but at least similar things. And I get it. I get why they would be so confident. And personally, I hope he comes. I think it would be great. I'm just going to point out something I pointed out before. 4 high schools in 4 years, 3 different states, 3 different high school teams. Okay, committed to Ohio State, then to Georgia. If he flips to us, it'd be another change of mind, so to speak. I don't say any of that negatively. It's just factually correct. Like I say, 2 + 2 = 4, no matter how much you might want it to equal 5. I guess my point is this. He's a very talented guy. And if he comes here, I will be as excited as anybody. But until it happens, there's a reason I haven't said much on social media. I haven't said much in my shows. I'm hearing what other people are hearing. I'm hearing the confidence. And it's probably going to happen based on the things that I've been told. But until it happens, I'll believe it when I see it. And I will say this, if he does go to Georgia, okay, who's to say he wouldn't transfer in a year or two to Nebraska? Okay, and honestly, and the like, vice versa. If he comes to Nebraska, maybe he stays, maybe he doesn't. Right now, Chubba Purdy, Heinrich Haarberg, Daniel Kalen is staying committed to Nebraska. He canceled his trip to Michigan State, so he's staying committed to Nebraska. I'm very happy to see that. That is an individual who, the moment a spot opened up for him, immediately flipped from Missouri to Nebraska. That is a guy, and you could argue that Missouri is, they're a better football team this year right now. You could argue they've been the better program for a while. I know that's hard to hear. What was there a point in time where we'd beaten them for 24 straight years before they finally beat us, I think, at some point in the early 2000s? But they're a top 10 team. They're in the New Year's Six. They played for at least 1, if not 2 SEC titles since they've joined the conference. So he flipped quick. And then he helped to peer recruit, good Lord, like half the class, something like that. I asked him in my interview with him 2-3 weeks ago. He kept listing off names for what felt like an eternity. It was probably 30 seconds, but when you're just listing names for 30 seconds, it's like, wow, I didn't even realize there was that many guys. And now he's staying. He feels like a guy who is really smart. All right, obviously, his IQ is off the charts, like 96th percentile. He's got a 4.1 GPA. I thought it was 4.3. He corrected me, 4.1. How awful. Geez, my gosh. He's probably going to learn quickly. He's a talented guy. He's the first ever quarterback from Nebraska to go to the Elite 11 camp. So he's a guy who could contribute, maybe sooner rather than later. But he feels like a guy who's going to be here for the long haul and a guy who's going to develop and improve and get better no matter what. Now, to be clear, I'm rooting for Dylan Raiola to come. I really am. All right, he can help. He's talented. In that quarterback room next year, if it is Daniel, if it is Dylan, Heinrich, Chubba, everyone stays, everyone commits, everyone comes who says they're coming. Dylan's got as good a chance to play as anybody. Chubba's talented. Coaches seem to like Haarberg. At least that's what they say in the press conference. Of course, they're going to be positive, but you get my point. I like Daniel a lot too. But who's to say we don't have a freshman starting next year? It's happened with Adrian Martinez, Taylor Martinez. Tommy started. Was it the Missouri game in October? I forget the exact date, as a true freshman when he took over. Tommy Frazier, that is. Tommy Armstrong, I think, started. I do think Tommy, Taylor, and Adrian. Tommy Armstrong, that is. Taylor and Adrian Martinez, not related. In case you didn't know that by now, ESPN. The ESPN SEC network screwed that up a few years ago if you didn't know. But my point is this. Okay, they were redshirt freshmen. My point is this. I'd be excited for him to come. I'm just waiting for it to happen. And then basically for all hell to break loose as everyone reacts and loses their ever-loving minds. I almost went Heath Ledger, Joker, Batman on that one. I'm not very good at impressions, so I won't try. And I don't want to. Heath Ledger was so awesome in that movie, I don't want to mess it up. It would be awesome if he come. It'd be huge, potential game changer, things of that nature. But we'll see what happens. Okay, and it seems likely, but we'll see what happens. I am excited that Daniel is definitely going to stay. Okay, so that's exciting news as well. If you didn't know, Kyle McCord going to Syracuse, the Orange. All right. Let's see here. All right, I think we got a few minutes here. Let's dive in to what a 12-team college football playoff would look like had it started this year. Now, getting buys, top 4 seeds get a bye. Michigan, Washington, Texas, Alabama. Okay, they get the buys based on the current CFP rankings. Although, let's be honest, I think if it was a 12-team field, I don't think Bama's in the top 4. I think Florida State is, and I think they get the bye. But I've already gone down that road. Since there was only 4, they had to put Bama in. I think if there's 12, I think Florida State gets the bye. But I'll quit beating that dead horse over and over. All right, so those teams get the bye. We're just going to go by the actual rankings. So that puts Florida State now the highest rated G5 team, which is Liberty. Okay, hasn't played a Power 5 team all year, I might add. I still think SMU should be over them. SMU, the AAC champs, 10-2, beat Tulane to knock Tulane out of a New Year's Six bowl. But I digress. Got to go with the rankings because the committee said Liberty won all their games. Why wouldn't we not reward them? Sorry, Florida State. 2 + 2 doesn't have to equal 4 if you're part of the ESPN SEC College Football Playoff Network. All right. So we got 5 versus 12, Florida State versus Liberty. Liberty would get that last seat as the highest rated G5 team. All right, 6 versus 11, Georgia, Ole Miss, a rematch. They played earlier this year. I believe Ole Miss only put up, it was either 7 or 10 points because when they played Missouri, it was either 7 or 10 points. And those were the 2 best defenses they played this year. Ohio State versus Penn State in a rematch in the 7 versus 10 game. Oregon versus Missouri, 8 versus 9. All right, now who would win? Well, I think Florida State gets Liberty. I don't see a whole lot of upsets, honestly. Georgia, probably going to beat Ole Miss again. Ohio State, I mean, they only won by 8, but they were 2 touchdowns better. Penn State scored a late touchdown, so I don't see that changing. Penn State had a hard time scoring against good defenses this year, so Ohio State probably wins. I do have an upset, Missouri over Oregon. I was truly surprised Oregon didn't look, and the score they had in their rematch, Pac-12 championship game versus Washington, I don't think was indicative of how much Washington actually controlled that game. That score was closer than how much I felt Washington controlled that game. And if you can lose to the same team twice and in the rematch, when you should have the edge as the team that lost the first matchup, and you are clearly not the better team on the field. Washington was clearly the better team on the field in the Pac-12 championship game, in my opinion. I don't know. I got Missouri upsetting Oregon up in Eugene. Autzen Stadium. So then that creates the matchup of Michigan and Oregon. I'm sorry, Michigan and Missouri. Then you've got Washington and Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Florida State. All right, so I did the top 8. Who would have, how would this have played out if there was a top 8 and there wasn't it was just the top 8 teams, not per se all 12 teams that got in. The matchup would have been Michigan versus Oregon, Washington, Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, Bama, Florida State. Now, the odds of me getting all these picks right are about 100% 0. But Michigan versus Oregon would have been the only thing that would have really been different. But you never know how these games might have played out. All right. I think Missouri versus Michigan would be an intriguing matchup as you go back to the 12-team college football playoff and the one upset that I kind of predicted, which was Missouri over Oregon. I think Michigan versus Missouri could be interesting. Washington versus Ohio State, I think that would be a great game. Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Florida State. I'm going to be honest. I don't see a lot of upsets here. I do think Bama beats Florida State. Okay. Again, these are projections. Don't know what would have happened. Texas, Georgia would have been an insanely intriguing matchup. You want to talk about 2 teams you just look at? Out of all these teams, they just look like a national championship team. It may be those 2 teams. Alabama would probably be 3rd on this list, just as far as the shiny car appeal. At a strength coach. I think it was at Nebraska, Dave Kennedy. I go, how come we don't do more biceps and triceps? You know me, I just want to have big arms. And he goes, well, that's the shiny car workout, Carriker. You look good, but it doesn't actually help you play. You want to talk about the teams that look like shiny cars? It's like Texas, Georgia, and then Alabama would be 3rd. So that Texas-Georgia game would have been a heck of a game. Washington, Ohio State. Okay. Let me see. Alabama, Florida State. I probably have Michigan beating Missouri in what I think is an incredibly close game. I have Ohio State upsetting Washington in the 2-7 matchup. I have Texas beating Georgia. I do, and I do because there were so many times this year when Georgia was on cruise control, and then the one game really all year they had to turn it on, and they lost to a team who got lucky to beat Auburn. I think Texas beats Georgia in the trenches because Alabama's offensive line didn't just push around Georgia's D-line. They blew them off the ball. And that's where Texas might be the best in the country, is in the trenches. They might have the 2 best D tackles in the country, and they may have the best O-line in the country. So I think Texas beats Georgia in the trenches. I do think Alabama beats Florida State. So the top 4 after this is now Michigan. Okay. Texas is the next highest rated seed after Washington is upset by Ohio State. Alabama would then be the 3rd highest rated seed left, with Ohio State at 4. And you get an Ohio State-Michigan rematch. You get a Washington-Alabama matchup. All right. Man, I tell you what. I still don't think Ohio State beats Michigan, although it comes down to the very end. Okay. And then Texas-Alabama in the rematch. That's a tough one because Alabama's a completely different team. This time, Texas would have the home field. Alabama's got the advantage of, hey, it's hard to beat us twice. To me, it would be really hard to imagine Texas beating them twice. This is a team that barely beat Auburn and then the very next week beat Georgia. I mean, I don't know what to make of Alabama. They're kind of the most up and down team I've seen in a long time, but they are the most improved team, and mostly because of Melrose, their quarterback, maybe the most improved player in the country. And also Nick Saban, after their bye week, made a lot of offensive adjustments that allowed him to use his feet a lot more and design plays. So I think it was a combination of all that. All right, I do think Michigan beats Ohio State again. And I do think Alabama beats Texas in the rematch. And you got Bama versus Michigan, which is now our Rose Bowl matchup right now, which is interesting if this were to turn out to be the national championship game. I do have Michigan winning. No, I don't think they have Nick Saban signs beforehand. I just don't really know what to make of Alabama, and Michigan is maybe the most consistent team in the country versus the most up and down team in the country in Alabama. Like in the actual Rose Bowl this year, it wouldn't surprise me if Alabama beat Michigan because maybe it's an up day. I wouldn't surprise me if Michigan beat Alabama by double digits, maybe 10 points, because it's a down day and Michigan just does what Michigan does. What's Joel Klatt call him? He calls him the boa constrictor of college football. They wrap themselves around you and they slowly just constrict and take away all your air. And that's exactly what Michigan does. He's absolutely right. And so I guess in that scenario, it's Michigan, Alabama in the national championship. The odds of me getting all those picks right, again, are pretty much 0. But that's what would have happened. Okay. If you look at a quick top 6, and then we got to go to commercial break, and then we got to bring on Jake. If we'd have done a top 6 playoff, okay, Michigan, Washington get the bye. Then you got Texas, Alabama, Florida State, Georgia playing in their first round. All right, so you got Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Florida State. And it's going to be a lot of the similar things that I just projected or predicted, other than Washington is still in this thing. All right, so if Bama beats Florida State, like I said earlier, Texas beats Georgia, like I said earlier, okay, now your top 4 is Michigan, Washington, because Washington's still in it. They got to bye in the first round as the number 2 seed. So it's Michigan, Washington, Texas, Alabama, which is pretty much the top 4 we have right now. Okay. And I've given my predictions on these games before. I got Michigan over Bama. I've got Washington over Texas. I know I have Washington losing to Ohio State, but I haven't beaten Texas, depending on which of these playoff scenarios you were to go with, 6 teams, 8 teams, 12 teams. I just think Texas's back end, like, it's a bad matchup. The weakness of their team is their secondary, and the strength of Washington's team is their pass game. And I think it's a bad matchup. And that's why I think Washington loses to Ohio State, but would beat Texas. So in that scenario, hope all this has made sense. I hope you've been able to follow. All right. And I hope I've explained it somewhat well. But in the 6-team scenario, the national championship would come out to be Michigan versus Washington. Probably Michigan winning again. But we'll see, ladies and gentlemen. All right. We got a commercial break. We got to pay some bills. And then Jake's going to come on and drop that knowledge. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back.
Hi, everyone. Kendall Warnock with A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. If you're looking for an automotive repair facility you can genuinely trust, we would be grateful for the opportunity to earn your business repairing your vehicle. We have ASE master technicians and qualified to work on a variety of vehicles from Hondas to Porsches, Jaguars to Toyotas, and Chevrolets to Fords. We pride ourselves on customer service and relationships, and we would be grateful for the opportunity to serve you. Give us a call at 402-477-4660. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
If you're in Seward or Milford, listen up. Select Plumbing is now servicing your area with no trip charges from Lincoln. Select Plumbing works on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate, 402-560-6197. It's not just Lincoln, Waverly, and the surrounding area anymore. It's also Seward and Milford with no trip charges. Contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see lots of sunshine with an afternoon high of around 38. Tonight, partly cloudy skies are expected. Overnight low should get down to 23. And tomorrow, more sunshine on the way. A little breezy at times. Be warmer, though. We'll see an afternoon high of around 49. I'm meteorologist Kyle Tucker from 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Landmark Implement, your local John Deere dealer, invites you to attend our upcoming Parts and Service Expo events. It's the best time to buy parts all year. Take advantage of specials December 6th through the 15th with additional savings the day of your local expo. Find savings on oil and filters, gifts for under the tree, and most pre-ordered John Deere parts. Visit with our trained and certified technicians and sign up for our service specials. Don't miss out. It only comes around once a year at your local Landmark Implement. Visit landmarkimp.com/events for a complete schedule of our expo events and experience the Landmark difference.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC. We'd like to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And to show our appreciation, Koppel is offering some huge holiday discounts from now until January 2nd. On select new Chevrolet vehicles, we are offering $8,000 off MSRP or 1.9% financing. Yes, you heard right. That's $8,000 off or 1.9% financing on select new Chevrolets. We also have some huge discounts on our new GMC inventory, so stop on in or check us out online at koppelcars.com. Includes finance, trade, and Costco bonus with roof credit. Stock number C299464.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now, they've raised wages again, and they're hiring for production operators at $24.62 per hour, which grows to $28.97 per hour within 3 years. Skilled trade positions now start at $33.36 per hour, with opportunities to make more based on certifications. Continental also has salary jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates, with increased bonuses and vacation for new hires. To learn more or apply, go to continentaljobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today. At Parkview Animal Hospital in Lincoln, it's not just a professional care that sets them apart, but their warm staff and state-of-the-art facilities. Whether it's for a routine checkup or a comprehensive medical procedure, at Parkview, your pet isn't just another number, but a valued member of their caring family. Visit them at pahlincoln.com today and in person just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Parkview Animal Hospital, your pet, our passion. For happier, healthier furry friends.
School taught you all about the 4 seasons, spring, summer, and so on. And then there's the way we really tell what time of year it is in sports seasons. Football season, baseball season, or off season. But what's the chocolate season? Well, it's now. And now, and now, and always. Whether you're looking for a caffeinated pick-me-up on the way to work, a little snack on the way home, or you need the perfect gift that's sure to be appreciated, it's time for the chocolate season. 40th and Old Cheney, or order ahead at thechocolateseason.com.
This year, give the gift of delicious food, incredible service, and a lasting memory with the Pillar Restaurant Group gift card. When you purchase a $50 gift card, you receive a $5 bonus card, or purchase a $100 gift card to receive a $20 bonus card. These cards can be used at all Pillar Restaurant Group locations, including Venue Restaurant and Lounge, Piedmont Bistro, The Butchery, The Bakery, and all Lincoln Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs locations. Available for purchase at any of our concepts or online at prgnebraska.com.
Golfing in 72 degrees and perfect conditions in Nebraska doesn't seem possible in December, but it is. Double Eagle Golf is your escape from the bone-chilling cold outside and a reason to keep your clubs out year-round. Book your holiday parties at Double Eagle Golf and make plans to join them for a New Year's Eve party. Gift cards make a great stocking stuffer for Christmas, and don't forget to look ahead to 2024 as spring leagues begin in February. That's all at Double Eagle Golf, inside the Kinetic Sports Complex on West O Street, online at doubleeagle.golf. Integrated Life Choices has been inspiring opportunities for individuals with disabilities for more than 15 years in Lincoln and across Nebraska by offering a number of services. From group homes to independent living resources and job training, you'll find the support that allows people to live fulfilling lives. They're also hiring If you're looking for a rewarding career supporting people with developmental disabilities, you can check out open positions along with learning more about services at ilc.net. Integrated Life Choices.
Everything we do, from our jobs to our hobbies, to the stuff that makes us who we are, all of those things come with the tool of the trade. I'm Trooper White of the Nebraska State Patrol. Wearing your seatbelt can reduce your risk of injury by 50% in a crash. So every time you get in a vehicle, remember to use the tool of the trade, your seatbelt. This message presented by the Nebraska State Patrol and the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
You're listening to Adam Carriker on The Ticket on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
On The Ticket, and I am pleased to be joined by a man who steps in and does an awesome job whenever Rico decides to take a few days off. Rico never takes vacation. That doesn't happen. My man, Jake, how you doing, Jake?
Oh, not too bad. Yeah, Rico's his only vacations when he's at work. So, I mean, he was working in Tampa. I hope him and DP are travel day on their way back. So, hopefully it was a good time, despite the fact they didn't get the full win. I think they went to the Ludacris concert, so could have been a worse time.
All right, I like that. I didn't know Ludacris was still doing music. I see him in all these movies, especially the Fast and the Furious. Is he doing new songs, or is he just? I don't want to say just, but is he bringing back the classics when he's doing these at these concerts? Do you know?
I don't know for sure. I would assume he's just playing the hits because I haven't heard a new like you. I haven't heard a new Ludacris song probably in 10 years. But you never know. I like that kind of argument because when you go to a concert, you know, the band has like 10 or 15 hits and they're trying to play their new music. You're just kind of like, let's play the old stuff. We know why we're here.
For sure. All right, man. Talk to me. It's going to be like a 3-part question. Talk to me about Nebraska volleyball season. Put your final thoughts on their season. Great season. Tough day yesterday. Obviously, Texas, a very good team. Give me your thoughts on Nebraska basketball, men's basketball's fast start, and the women's basketball team's fast start as well.
Yeah, I think for volleyball, obviously, there's just so much upside, which is crazy for a team that was the number 1 ranked team overall. Only 2 losses on the season. And it's going to be exciting to see them grow again. John Cook, you wonder because he's had so many good teams and had Nebraska in such a good position for so long now and won 4 titles that it's like, but you still kind of think, is this the best suited, you know, kind of looking 3 years out that they've had it going. So it's disappointing. Obviously losing to Texas. I agree with you. I'm a permanent horns down type of guy. So it's kind of frustrating, especially for having to be those folks in Austin that get the win. But in any case, Nebraska volleyball had a spectacular season. One we'll never forget. The Memorial Stadium opening, just incredible and could be motivation for young women, everywhere. So just an incredible season, a young team that played better than what we expected to, and kind of got to a point to where maybe you did expect them to win the title, but just not quite getting it done. But a great season there. Nebraska basketball, I'm particularly impressed with their bounce back ability. I mean, they had that Creighton loss that followed by the Minnesota loss, where Minnesota lost their best player at the start of that game, and then Nebraska just squandered a double-digit lead. And a weaker team could have just really gotten to the dumps, thought, who are we? What do we? Because you're still kind of trying to figure out roles and all that. But for Nebraska to be able to bounce back, get the win against Michigan State, which looks better now after Michigan State's win over the weekend over Baylor, and then get that win against Kansas State, being down at halftime, only allowing 12 points, dominating the boards. Not a particularly good shooting night, but that's not going to happen every night in college basketball. You got to be able to win when you're not knocking down your threes. For Nebraska, at times it's kind of been the MO of them, or at least what Fred Hoiberg wanted to get them to go in 5 out, shooting a lot of threes. And so, I thought at a certain point it would be good if you're not shooting well to get that win. I think that was their best defensive performance, holding the team to 46 points in the Fred Hoiberg era. So, not all good news in Husker land, but at least a good day, an enjoyable day yesterday. More pregame for volleyball than anything, but throughout the day for Nebraska men's basketball.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, just another shout out to the ladies basketball team as well. All right. Let me see here. They've lost their last, they've won. Let me make sure I say that right. Won their last 5 games in a row. Okay. Including wins over Florida Atlantic, Georgia Tech, UC Wilmington, Michigan State, and Southern. They got Kansas upcoming. So shout out to them on a strong start, a fast start to the season. All right, dude. Dylan Raiola watch. All right. I don't know. I feel like I'm watching. I don't know how to equate it really well. Everything that's coming into my mind probably isn't appropriate. Basically, Dylan Raiola watch is in full alert. What are your thoughts on this? Is he going to commit? What does it mean if he does? What does it mean if he doesn't? What are your thoughts on all this?
Well, I think it's absolutely huge. I mean, I'm a bigger recruiting guy. I really like to follow it in the early 2000s when it really began on the internet, on the website. So I remember the excitement for Marlon Lucky and that 2004 class particularly, where we're starting to count in all the stars. And maybe we learned a little bit of a lesson from that class that it doesn't necessarily translate to most success immediately, but that class did end up being pretty successful over time, just more for Bo Pelini than it was for Bill Callahan. But in any case, this is a program changer. I think you can say that. Now, I don't like to get ahead of myself as far as like you want to see how they look at the college level. But this is a guy that football experts, former football coaches across the country that are giving out these scholarships project this guy to be a star at the next level. And Nebraska has had some guys that were pretty good, or here and there in the Big Ten, but it's been a while since you have a star at that all-important quarterback position. I'm fascinated to see how all this plays out because there's so many moving parts. That if he does come in, is he, you don't want to say handed the job, but how long? I mean, it's going to be hard to keep him out of, at least getting some playing time. All the NIL that's kind of considered into this, would that be a factor in playing time at some point for somebody? It's just fascinating. The flip side of that, if they don't get them, I'm really worried if they don't get him at the last minute, where you're at, because there's a lot of these transfer portal quarterbacks have already kind of moved on. Maybe you could still reach out to Cam Ward or somebody like that, but they've put all their eggs in this basket. It seems like they've kind of moved Kyle McCord off so that they could make room for Dylan Raiola. And if it doesn't end up happening at the last minute, you're basically stuck with what you had last year. And then Daniel Caitlin coming in. I still think they'd go and get somebody in the portal, but I don't think it would be as good as Kyle McCord. So it would just be it would be a move that would set Nebraska's program back a little bit. And so, I mean, that's why this whole thing is just fascinating, because it could either do that or just spring load it forward. I always kind of think about those. Maybe it wouldn't be as important maybe for 2024 to get Dylan Raiola, but for like 2025 and 2026, that's when you could start seeing Nebraska make a significant push back to being the Nebraska of old.
You make a great point. It is kind of all their eggs are in one basket. It's in the Dylan Raiola basket. If he comes, man, it's going to be rightfully so, very exciting. If he doesn't, sorry, all right, no Kyle McCord, no Dylan Raiola. Excited Daniel's coming, but it's a lot of similar to last year. And, you'd like to think the Harburg would be better and Purdy would be better. And he's coming off an injury and a surgery and things of that nature. And he's clearly got the talent, didn't get a lot of reps. Harburg didn't have a lot of reps 2 years ago under the previous regime. So, you'd like to think that either way, if there are two of our main quarterbacks next year, they'd be a lot better. But it's one of those things where if Dylan comes, and I still think either way, we needed some sort of a transfer portal quarterback. You need some sort of a veteran presence in that quarterback room and somebody with a little bit more experience, because, I mean, Harburg doesn't have a ton. Purdy doesn't have, none of them would have a ton at all. Even if you added them all together, I don't even think they have a full season under their belt, especially with, two of them still being in high school right now. So I do think that that's important, and I think that matters. All right, what did you think of my 12-team college football playoff, my predictions? What would have happened had it happened this year? What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I thought that was a good exhibition to kind of put together. I'll look forward to it next year. I've said this, and I don't know how big of a fan you are about the expansion. I kind of like traditional college football where every regular season game kind of feels like a playoff game. I understand that, the money that can be raised and the excitement of a playoff. But I've lost that battle, so I can't keep fighting my old hope for the BCS era to come back. So the 12-team playoff, I'm looking forward to. I am interested that you pretty much came back to the final four teams, and that's kind of what I kind of think is going to happen with these 12-team playoffs. Is listen, most years there's a pretty definitive 2 best teams or 4 best teams, or, sometimes we quabble over the 5th best team or 6th best team, but there's rarely a year where I'm thinking the 9th best team has much of a chance against the 2nd or 3rd best team, mostly because they've already played in a conference championship game or earlier in the season or something like that. But I do think that it would be a primarily a chalk type of tournament. I think it will be moving forward. But I am intrigued because I do think there's part of me that wants to buy in, believe in Michigan, just for the Big Ten's sake. But I'm a little bit, I guess, analytical in that if I look back, this has been a primarily SEC tournament. It's tough to count Alabama out when they're in it. And so I can't wait. I'm fascinated for that matchup. But I guess from your 12-team playoff, that's what I kind of noted was like, okay, we're kind of back to where you start with a 4-team playoff. So I don't know if we need expansion. We're just doing it for fun. That's fine with me, I suppose.
Dude, we could literally talk about this for the rest of the show. I have all sorts of thoughts on the 4-team playoff versus the BCS versus a 6 or an 8-team or a 12-team or a 16-team play. The reason I've never really expressed my thoughts is because it would take so long. I haven't had like I could take a full hour on it. So I'm kind of waiting till like the off season when there's a little bit more of a lull and I can just take a full hour on it to kind of put a brief synopsis on. I agree with you. Very rarely in the playoff era has there been more than 2 teams. You think back to last year, TCU didn't win the Big 12 title. Ohio State didn't win the Big 10 title. So right away, you could have had 2 teams right there. And I know Michigan got upset by TCU, but anybody can beat anybody on any given day. And how'd that work out for them versus Georgia? And you go all the way back to 14, the first year of the playoff. There's only one year where I can think that maybe more than 2 teams deserve to be in, and that was the first year when number 4 Ohio State, with their 3rd-string quarterback, upset Alabama, and then they dominated Oregon in the national championship game, but at least they had 1 loss or less, and they had won a Big Ten championship. Even Alabama, the year they won it from the 4 slot, I think they beat Clemson and they beat Georgia in the championship that year. They didn't win the SEC, and they didn't even play in the SEC title game. And I remember making a joke on social media. Hey, Bama earned their way in by sitting at home on their butts, eating their mama's Christmas cookies and watching other teams, fall short, and then they got in. And so I'm just sick and tired of Bama getting shot after shot after shot after shot. You go back, was it 09? I think it was 11, because 09, I think Bama beat Texas, and that was a legit win for them. But I think it was 11 when they replayed LSU after they'd already lost to LSU. I'm tired of these mulligans for them. So anyways, again, I could go on forever. I do remember the BCS, the computers drove people nuts. Now it's the people in the committee driving people nuts. It's kind of one of those things where I look at this list and I look at these 8 teams. I look at these 12 teams. And to me, I think the biggest conundrum we have every year, I'm with you, more often than not, it's like 2 teams. It's not very often. Was it 04 that you had USC, LSU, and Auburn all went undefeated, and then USC and I think LSU split it that year. I think maybe that was 03. Anyways, I digress. My point is this. The biggest conundrum we have with the 4-team playoff is the best versus the most deserving. And so as I look at this 8-team, I'm like, man, Michigan, Washington, Texas, Alabama, Florida State, Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon. What if that was the field? Other than Oregon, I could argue that Ohio State's better than Washington. They're just in a tougher conference. I could argue that Georgia is better. I predicted Texas to beat Georgia, but I can also say, hey, Georgia's got 1 loss, and the SEC is definitely tougher than the Big 12. So what if they actually played it on out? And then I think the ultimate best versus deserving argument was Bama versus Florida State. So for me, I think almost 8 would kind of solve all those issues. You could also go top 6. Again, I'm supposed to be asking you questions. I went off on a tangent because this is something I could talk for hours about. If it was up to you, would it be the old BCS top 2? The one thing I do miss, it drives me nuts, is that bowl games don't matter. There should be some sort of a fine. There should be a penalty. To me, you're not fully honoring your contract. So how do you get out of it without some sort of repercussions? How do you not have to give some NIL money back? It drives me nuts that bowl games don't matter. And there's been no accountability whatsoever. It was just like my guy, Christian McCaffrey, I know his dad was like, hey, I'm out. And then everybody else said, well, we're out too. And there's never been any accountability. But back to a question for you. Sorry about all this. If it was up to you, would it be 2 teams, 4 teams, 6 teams, 12 teams, 18 teams, 94 teams? What would it be? How would your playoff scenario look?
Yeah, for me, I would go back to 2 teams, and there's no perfect system. The perfect system is to wait till the regular season's over and build your own playoff year by year, because that'd be the only way to do it. But now you wouldn't be going into 18 playoffs. You'd choose 2 or 4 or whatever it might be. But to me, that's what it was. And I do feel bad for those teams. I mean, Penn State 94, anytime you go undefeated and you don't have a chance at a championship similar to Florida State this year, something doesn't quite sit right with me with that. But that was, that's why I don't feel bad for the 5th team that's left out or going to be the 13th team that left out or whatever. Because when I grew up, college football was, you better go undefeated. And if you don't, then you don't have a complaint about missing out on the championship. You might get lucky. There might happen to be this year that a one-loss team does get in and you'll be picked as that one-loss team. But I just love that. And back, that was back when Nebraska was trying to have undefeated seasons, and it just the weight of every game, and even bigger, like the upsets. What I love about college football is the upsets. I mean, my goodness. I mean, those people rushing the field and what it means and for the rest of the season and all that. And now you kind of go into next year and beyond, and the upset's kind of like it's big for that Saturday, but that if you upset Ohio State, they're still probably going to make the playoff. If you upset Alabama, they'll still probably make the playoff. So it's not quite as big. And then you look at a matchup like Ohio State, Michigan this year, like everything was on the line. It's one, I think it was 2 versus 3, but it was the Big Ten title and the playoffs and everything. And you put that same scenario in the next year, and it's just, well, you might want to lose this game so you don't have to play that extra one. It's not going to help with home field, but you could argue that it would be more beneficial to lose that game.
You make a great point. And here's what college football is turning into. The transfer portal is free agency, and it's turning into pretty much the NFL. And now, in all fairness, some of these conferences, and I would do the conferences differently. I mean, they just make me college football commissioner, and I'll fix everything. Okay, I'm just going to put it out there. Just Adam Carriker for college football commissioner. Let's get it rolling. Let's get it trending. Okay, I'll fix everything. But I think you need someone who cares about the sport as a whole, rather than all these individual conference commissioners who care about their conference. And that's one of the biggest problems. Look at boxing. That's why boxing is no longer as big as it was, and UFC's taken over. They've got Dana White overseeing everything in the UFC. As in boxing, they've got all these different divisions, so to speak, and it's not what it once was. And I just don't want that for college football. But like you said, Michigan, Ohio State, they play next year. Okay, well, we're probably going to play again the next week, for the Big Ten championship with no divisions, and then we might see each other again in the playoff. And I will never forget the year the Patriots went undefeated. Okay, and I remember multiple things about that year. The Giants, who won the Super Bowl that year, were 9-7. Okay, when the Patriots essentially went 18-0 going into the Super Bowl, meant nothing. 9-7. Okay, and the Patriots had beaten the Giants earlier that year in New York. I think it was week 16 or 17. So that game didn't matter at all. I also remember the Giants, who got smoked by the Cowboys twice that year, got a third chance at the Cowboys, beat them in the playoffs, and then that was all that mattered. So it rendered the regular season completely moot. And I've been in meetings where Kyle Shanahan, what's his dad? Not Kyle. What's his dad? I've only played for the guy.
Mike Shanahan.
Mike Shanahan. Good grief. I kept wanting to say Mark, and I knew that wasn't right. Where Mike would stand up in front of us, and he goes, I don't care, about anything except getting into the second season. He always called it the second season because you never know what's going to happen once you get into the playoffs. I don't care if we're the 1 seed. At that time, there was 1 through 6 in the NFC, or 6. As long as we get in, it's a complete new season, and nothing before that happens. So I've sat in meetings like that too. All right, Jake, final thought, final question. Is Dylan Raiola coming? All the pressure's on you. Everyone wants to know, is he coming? What's your prediction?
If I had to bet, it would be that he does end up here. It looks like if you kind of follow along the tea leaves, it looks like that would probably be what lines up. It doesn't make much sense to visit here unless he really just wants to troll Nebraska, which I don't know if that's in the cards. So I feel good about him coming to Nebraska. I'll feel better when it's official.
I'm with you. And it's one of those things where I think it's going to be, I'm just going to go out on a limb. Okay. I think it's going to be a big Wednesday. That's what I think. I do predict Dylan comes. Okay. I'm not guaranteeing it. I'm not one of those guys that's like, he's definitely coming. I'll believe it when I see it, but I predict he comes. And there were so many cryptic tweets yesterday. Matt Rule was leading the charge in all these cryptic tweets. And I think the last one I saw was Walter Payton leaping over the goal line. Like, did we get the Oregon running back? Is that what that means? I mean, or is Walter Payton, is he back from the dead? Is that who we got in the transfer portal? Like, what's going on here? And so for me, I just get this feeling that it's going to be a big Wednesday, and they're kind of waiting until Wednesday. Now I could be completely and utterly wrong, and I sound like an idiot. I don't know, but that's just my prediction as well. So, hey, so we're doing this a little bit different, but you're kind of the guy in charge today. I've got one question for the people's segment here. What if I answer that question, then we call it a wrap? How's that sound, Jake?
Yeah, that works. That works.
All right, so the Notorious B.I.B. says, Adam, and Jake, you should answer this too. If the Natty comes down to Michigan, Texas, who do you root for? Has to be Michigan, right? Well, yeah, it's always horns down. I mean, are you kidding me? Yes, it's how insufferable would Texas fans be if they win the volleyball national championship and the football national championship? Oh, and they beat Alabama in the process, because they're going to talk about that like that was the national title. Of course, it's Michigan, mostly anti-Texas and a little bit of pro-Big Ten. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, I'm so entertained by Jim Harbaugh. I know it's not probably the cleanest program that's ever been run, but I'm at least entertained by it. I get the distaste for Michigan, but Texas is just in my blood. I hate Texas, and they've ruined plenty of my Saturday afternoons before. I will say this: when they were bad for those several years, there was something missing in college football. I do like them to be good so that I can cheer against them, but it's a weird relationship, because I am cheering heavily against them once they are good. So I'd definitely go with Michigan there.
There's something, college football is better, okay, when Texas is better. Not great, but better. When Nebraska is good, college football is better. When I miss Miami, honestly, being better than they are right now. And I'm happy to see Florida State back. And I missed Florida and Florida State always being like a top 5 matchup every year when I was growing up. And Miami, Florida State when I was real young. Okay, Charlie Ward, Warren Sapp going at it back in the day. So when the big name programs are doing better, I do think it is better. For college football, just Texas don't do too good. Okay, that's all I got. All right. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. I am going to get some Christmas shopping done, but Jake and the rest of the 93.7, the crew, are going to keep holding it down. All right, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, go Big Red, and always remember to throw the ball.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Infrastructure, a veteran-owned local